us in this glorious new year. I'm just checking to make sure I'm unmuted. I am. That's exciting. Okay. Um, well, as I said, it is a new year. We've got a new face. So we are going to be joined by a new character, Aaliyah. Um, I'll let Aaliyah describe what she looks like in just a moment. Um, I want to remind everybody that this is supposed to be a safe space stream. And this is also meant to be a stream where if you're curious about how to get started or how to deal with certain concepts, you can check out some of our recorded VODs or whatever you call them. There have been some where I've started it by being like, I have no spoons. Y'all okay with me being a weirdo? And everybody's been like, sure. And we've played through that. I am autistic and I am an ambulatory wheelchair user, so I don't put up with a lot of nonsense, but I'm happy to answer questions. You can follow me on like 7spoon on Twitter. We will go over everybody else's contact information at the end of the stream in case if they are willing to talk to y'all offline. But with that, let's go ahead and get started. So before I give a recap, generally what y'all have been up to for the last couple of months in real live time, Aaliyah, why don't you go ahead and describe what you look like to us and the stream?
I am a tall, young-ish for an elf woman. I tend to stand with confidence, but my head is often sort of hidden in a hood in the shadows. My hair is usually tied back. It is a very bright red color, and I have hazel eyes. You can tell that I'm quite athletic and strong from my build and the way I move quickly and with confidence.
Excellent. All right. Sorry, I tried to do a pop out of y'all, so I wasn't looking to the left all the time. And then I lost it. All right, I got it back. All right, so this group is known. I would say they are known as heroes in this realm. You're traveling in the world of Azinlia, and you're hopping from job to job. Your very first job was helping a friend who was stuck behind a night hag in her own mind, which is quite terrifying. That was fun. Then the next thing y'all did was snuck onto a train and rescued an aspect of Yume's patron. Which, Yume, would you mind describing your character for us, please?
Oh gosh. So I don't quite know what my character looks like in the artwork because I am blind, but my intention is that Yume is a short, bubbly woman. She has long golden blonde hair, golden yellow hair, and golden brown eyes. She's a little on the chubby side, always has a smile on her face, and wears kind of like acolyte type clothing, kind of like flowy skirts in
Yeah.
brighter colors.
Mm-hmm.
She has a green umbrella that is a family heirloom, and she has a best friend, giant bee, named Dandy.
Yeah, he's about the size of a kitten. I think we discussed, right? But bee shaped
Um,
and flying.
yeah, very small cat.
Very very tiny cat. Okay. Great, thank you. I'm sort of treating this as a review episode since the beginning of the year, so I appreciate that. Um, Now, you are also traveling with Battle. Battle, can you go ahead and describe your character for us really quickly?
Sure. My character is Battle. I'm a Wood Elf Ranger, Beastmaster. By appearances, she is a tall and lean Wood Elf, green, pale skin with similar colored long hair, kept back in braids, and pretty consistently wearing armor. She is accompanied by a little fluffy black dog, tight curly hair, not dissimilar to some service dogs that we know and love. And her, why can't I remember her name? Oh my goodness.
Shy.
Yeah, Shy.
Your dog's name?
Yeah.
Oh,
Been
yeah.
a long time, okay.
It's been a while, yeah. Shy.
Whose name is Shielden because my last name is Armor, so Shield and Armor. And then
Forgot about that.
on Shy's chest in her armor is a little tiny tortoise named Ren, who is impervious to damage and all the
Yeah,
other things.
sure
but
he is.
just really, well, according to the card that was pulled,
I see.
invincible, but also completely useless.
Yeah, so Ren showed up as a mechanic we use. I have a Deck of Wonder, and if anybody rolls a Nat 7, we pull from that card, and it affects the game. This is one of the most this group is one of the most successful groups I've seen roll with this. I'm not entirely sure why, but it has been quite hysterical. We did decide in our last session that if it gets pulled too many times, it's a little too chaotic. So we'll keep an eye on that. But that's where Ren came from. That was a key part of the last adventure as well. I believe you turned green, and that became sort of a turning point. And I think at another point, Yume's spell turned Cage to oatmeal and just sort of cut right through that. Now, one of my favorite parts of the campaigns we've done so far was actually Winnie, when you got bit by a mimic that looked like a jewelry box. Can you go ahead and describe your character for us really quickly?
Yeah, so Winnie is a tall and broad furbolg with blue skin and long, droopy ears. She's got long brown hair with some silver running through it, a little salt and pepper action, so to speak. And she's mainly wearing, well, right now she's wearing a dress that was stolen from the train car that belonged to some of the well-to-do people on the train. We had originally stolen a different dress for her, but it didn't fit very well. This one fits a little bit better. I believe this one is like blue and has flowers on it. But normally Winnie just wears like kind of leather armor and a comfortable pair of pants. So that's
Fair
Winnie.
enough. All right, so we know what everybody looks like. We know high level what y'all have been up to for the last couple months. Now here's going to be the tricky one, because I don't think we've played for about a month. Do any of you remember what happened last time?
Yeah, so
Last
we picked
time
up.
we got
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. We got into the final train car
Yes.
that we were fighting our way through, socially and sometimes combat almost,
Almost.
to
Yep.
get the friend that we were sent to retrieve for Yume's patron.
Right.
And had a scuffle in the train car against some guards, trying to convince them to let us get away with what we were doing.
Well, that's one way to look at it.
And tried to get the magical critter out of a cage. But like you said before, it turned to oatmeal thanks to wild magic.
Yep. I am really entertained by those moments. Yeah, I think that's a fairly good summary. So I don't actually remember the exact moment we left it in. I'm going to go over the learns and the RP points from last time. That might jar some ideas loose. So last time I captured that you learned that Yume can turn things into oatmeal and absorbs balls of light. That glowing green gets you everywhere. A Winnie, when she is upset, she can attack someone and it calms her down. You learned that. Ren hates noses. I do not remember what happened with that, but I wrote it down. Ren is also trying to mimic Shy, like a tiny dog, which we find amusing. And
Ren bit somebody's nose, I think.
they must have. Yeah, I'm not
I
entirely
think we
sure.
were in a scuffle, and that was her solution to like joining in battle.
She bit someone on the nose. Yeah, that sounds right. You also learned that there wasn't a team of bad guys on this train. It was just a delivery job. And then for RP points, so at the end of each session, we will capture role-playing moments, and I will type them into our session chat. And the player characters, so Battle, Aaliyah, Yume, and Winnie, you'll all vote using an emoji in the channel. Whoever gets the most votes gets an RP point. What that means is you can re-roll a d20 roll at any point in the next session. I like it because we all get to pitch in a little bit on what gets captured from last time. You get to call out really fun role-playing moments. They don't necessarily need to be funny or happy. They can just be really sincere role-playing. I also accept them from chat. So, hey chat, I heard earlier that the chat function wasn't working really well. So if any of you are alive and well, please send a message so I can know whether chat's working. You are also able to vote on, or not vote. You're able to nominate a role-playing moment. There, I see a chat message from TechSoup, so apparently our chat is working today. Hooray! So keep that in mind as you're going through the session. If you really like something that just happened role-playing wise, jot down a note, because you might forget. Alright, so last time, the role-playing point that won was Freya coming up with the excuse that Battle is sick and it is spreading and it must be contained. Oh, I wanted to mention, Freya will not be joining us for a little bit. She needed to take a break. We'll, of course, welcome her back in the future. But for right now, well, you'll see. So she will not be using her role-playing point, so I'm going to give it back to Battle because Battle got a vote for casting Fairy Fire. So Battle, that was the only other vote we had. So why don't you go ahead and take that as an RP point for us. Okay. Some honorable mentions were Battle sitting down and getting in the way of the guy's second work table so she could read the files. I think in the car before you were deliberately sort of using, Winnie crying.
That was the game before.
Yeah, it was the game before. Yeah, that's what the RP point. Oh wait, was it?
Mm-hmm.
You are totally right. I went back too far. My apologies. Well, technically Shy and Ren get the battle point for last time. But we'll give that to Battle. Shy and Ren took it for sitting on the down soldier and then running over to eat oatmeal. Yeah, that's right. So Shy sat down on the soldier and then I think Ren bit the soldier's nose at that point. And then as soon as there was oatmeal, they ran over to eat that. Winnie also got a vote for Flare of Winnie wiping her nose before battling the soldier. Thought that was cute. And then...
I'm crying.
Yeah, because you were crying. And then how Yume handled all of the interactions with the glowy is what I wrote down. And I write down what y'all say, so someone said that. I assume y'all were talking about when the aspect Yume, I think you absorbed it, right?
Yeah, the ethereal bee thing got sucked up into actually Dandy absorbed it. But like effectively between like the magic of a warlock, you know, who knows where it really goes and where it starts. But Dandy is a gift from Yume's patron, so that was kind of helped to send the being back where it belongs.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay.
The being.
The being.
Nope, you're all fired. Okay.
Chat, we love puns. Drop those in. Too.
No, I hate puns. Okay. All right, so with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to declare, unless one of you remembers otherwise, that the train has just pulled into the station. Didn't the soldiers tell you... I should have watched the last episode. Didn't the soldiers tell you that the rest of the train gets... The rest of the passengers get disembarked and then this gets unloaded? Weren't you heading back into a passenger car at the end of the last session? Yes. Okay.
Sounds right.
So, it would be really helpful if I had that map up, huh? One moment.
Only if there's danger.
Oh, okay, I'll just leave this map up. Well, I actually want you to hold on to this thought. You are heading back through the cars. You are trying to act like normal passengers that are disembarking. You are suddenly conscious that everybody is pulling out little bags and stuff, and none of you have any baggage. The door guards or the people posted on the doors are sort of giving you odd looks, but other than that, there's a door opening in each train car, and you're about to get off. Now, I want you to hold on to that thought. No, I don't want you to hold on to that thought. Sorry, I forgot this is where y'all were. Okay, so you get off the train car. Yep, hang on. I forgot something, and I prepared something with Aaliyah's character incorrectly. So let me just ping her offline really quickly. Anybody have a fun story they want to tell while I text?
I don't have a
I have
fun
a
story
boring food
necessarily. Ooh, I like boring food stories.
So, I discovered that they have. If you've ever been to a hibachi place, I know that some people know this, but I discovered for the first time only this year, at the end of December, that they sell the yum sauce at the store. You can just get
Huh.
the yum sauce, and I can grill shrimp and just have shrimp just like hibachi shrimp. I know that's not a very exciting story, but I was really thrilled because that's like, I'm very American and live for that sauce. Delicious.
That was a very good story.
It's just delicious. Good food.
Okay.
Also, I ordered. Keep going. I have dumb stories until you're ready.
I'm ready to get started, but if you want to finish up what you were saying.
Nope. Sure
Okay.
don't.
All right, so you are walking through the train cars. Freya's actually bringing up the tail end of this group, and as you're about to exit the train car, there is a flash of brilliant pink. It's sort of a fuchsia color, and it's all any of you can see for just one moment, and then it's gone, and so is Freya. There are people crowding around you to get off the train. Are you going to get off the train, or are you going to stay on the train and look for Freya?
I think the plan was to get off.
Was the
Oh,
plan?
no. Well,
What
she
happened? Is
vanished
the aspect still
instantaneously.
there?
Nope, the aspect was absorbed. So y'all look normal-ish as you're getting off the train.
Yeah, we agreed we weren't going to cause any more trouble and just get off the train as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
If Freya's around, if she just used some spell, she'll catch up with us, right?
She'll catch up with us, yeah. Yeah, I think we should. I think she'd want us to keep going.
You think she'll catch up with us, though?
Can she turn invisible? I don't know what that spell was that she just did.
I feel like she would have been talking to us if she was invisible.
Will you all please roll a perception check? By all, I mean Battle, Yume, and Winnie. We'll get you in here in just a moment, Aaliyah.
I'm so
That
glad
dice is
that
going in jail.
my first roll of the
Of
year was an
2021.
20 for no reason.
Yes!
Woo!
I love it.
I hit a solid 14.
That's not terrible. Yeah.
I rolled a natural 4, which with my perception is 9.
Good job. You feel somebody put something in your pocket. There is absolutely no one anywhere near you.
Huh. What's this? Maybe she is near us and just can't talk, and we'll pull it out.
You pull out a
There
note.
were a lot of weird things on that train.
Mm-hmm.
You pull out a note. It is signed by Freya. It says the following. Hey, y'all. I had to run off on another adventure. Somebody called the mistress just sort of snatched me out of the air. I'll be back soon. She said she'd give this to you close to when I disappeared, but time's weird, I guess. See you soon?
What?
Question mark?
Oh no. Time is weird.
Yeah.
Time and magic is weird.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get away from this train and please. Magic's real weird.
All right.
Yeah.
So you end up on the platform. People are milling around. They're all sort of clustered. Most of them are clustered near the end of the train where that baggage car was, where people are unloading bags and calling out names and whatnot. As a car empties, one of the people on the doors stands in front of the door so no one can go back into the train. And if you were to try and look into the train, the other door person is like picking up and doing things like that. So it looks like they're doing a changeover. There's also a line of people going to get on the train to we'll say the right side of the platform, and they're unloading the bags on the left side of the platform. This platform actually looks extremely similar to the platform you got on at. However, it is not a large town like the last town you were in. This is more like a hamlet kind of thing. No, is that a word for a small town?
Yeah.
It is now.
Great. It was a hamlet. So you can see a big temple quite close by. You can see another large building that's most likely like a town hall. And this is all arranged around like a square that the train station makes up one side of. You can see people in the uniform of the train taking tickets, answering questions, that sort of thing. What do y'all do?
Can we see a sign for a town name or anything?
I always forget to name the damn towns. Wait, no, I do have a town. Yes, you do see a sign, and it says that you are in the town of Warnier.
Do anybody know this town? Warnier?
Go ahead and roll a
I've
history.
never been here before.
All right, that.
I
Yep.
can see if I know.
Roll a history check.
No, not that
18?
dice. Not that dice.
Wait, I'm forgetting all of my bonuses.
Yep. Sheets are...
Dirty 20?
What did you roll, Winnie?
You need new dice, Whitney.
What'd you roll, sweet?
Rolled
Join.
another 4.
I'm gonna send you some new dice. I think I've got some you like. How's that sound, chat? Should I send Winnie some new dice? I've got a pile of them. I meant to maybe do a giveaway, but I forgot to set that up. So we all agree to give that set to Winnie. I'll mail you some. All
And
right.
I have a +0 for English, so it's just a straight 4.
You've never heard of this place. However, Battle, you've actually heard of this place. There are some caverns here that you've heard of. It's the kind of thing where no one ever comes out again. You've heard tales and whatnot of these caverns that no one has come out of again. That's
Sounds like a good time. I relay the information to the crew.
okay.
And what's the name of the hamlet again?
Warnier, WORN as in Nancy, E as in elephant, E as in elephant, R. I do not remember where I got that name. You're welcome.
Thank you.
We're near some caves.
Damn it. I'm terrible at names.
Sorry, if you give me something that is punny, I will grab it.
I put my library in the same place as my my gaming desk, literally, so I could just be like 1 second and go grab a book and just be like flip. And I haven't done it yet, but I will do this. What I should do at the beginning of every game is just put a stack of books next to me so that I just have some available and I can just be like whoop whoop. I guess I have D&D books. I guess I could do that with D&D books, huh? Too late. All right, here we go. So you're in the town of Warnier.
We're far from where we're from. I think most of us, at least. But maybe we can help out some people here, because that seems to be what we're good at lately.
As you're discussing this, actually, literally, as Yume is saying that out loud, you are approached by Aaliyah. Aaliyah, can you describe what this approach looks like? Do you think it's something like you overhear this and you're like, wait, is this the group I'm looking for? Or do you introduce yourself right away? What are we looking at?
I definitely perk up my ears when I hear one of the party members expressing that they're just interested in helping people. And I know this town a little bit.
Yes,
Do I?
you're actually, I'm
Okay.
going to go ahead and say that you're very familiar with this town. And in fact, you've crossed through here a couple of times. And they're very well known for... I have notes. They're not helpful, though. Crap. They're known for making fabric. Like, the finest fabric in the region.
Okay.
With very unusual dyes. So it's, you know, the town is known for that. They're also known for the caverns, but in a less way, a less interesting way, a less mercantile way. Mercantile? Whatever.
I'm at the moment sort of keeping my distance, but I'm going to approach, especially as I've just heard this very interesting blonde-haired young human express this desire to do good. And I'm going to say, would you all need some help looking around this town? I could help you find an inn or somewhere to rest and get your bearings.
That'd be lovely. I've never been here before.
Yeah, I've never even heard of it.
That sounds excellent.
I happen to have some free time today, so yeah.
If there's a dress shop, can you please tell us where it is so we can avoid it? I suspect fabric is related to some of the garments we've found in previous places that we just, we're in for some new outfits.
You may try to say
Well,
quietly,
there are
trying
many
to bring
dress
attention
shops
to
here.
this. I don't know what to do. Oh no.
That's okay. Take your time.
There's such a little chance that they will, like, if they were coming here, the clothing probably wasn't from here. Like, do we want to keep our new wardrobes that we got from the nobles on the train, or do we want to ditch
yeah.
it somewhere? Maybe we do want new clothing, so we don't get spotted.
Just no haste. Let's take our time.
I think you have.
Okay.
I
Probably-
do want to point out that you have your old clothing on underneath the new clothing, so you might just need to change out of the old clothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
going to suggest we get away from the train as quickly as possible so that the passengers that are disembarking don't notice that we're wearing their clothes.
That's fair. Okay, and I believe Aaliyah mentioned guiding you to an inn. So does that sound like a good "let's go that way" kind of thing?
Yeah.
All right. All right. So Aaliyah, you lead them into the town square, and you hang a left. This is a very clean street, very prosperous. It seems very prosperous. It's got gravel instead of cobblestone, but that's easier to rake and keep even. There seem to be raised platforms, kind of like sidewalks would be, and facing onto them are shops, and you do see an inn here and there. It's quite a busy street as well. This is small for a hamlet, small for a town, but there seem to be quite a lot of people in it. It's probably due to that train station. Aaliyah, you're going to lead them to the Golden Ewe, which is an inn that you are familiar with as not being incredibly pricey, but super clean, decent stew, ales, take it or leave it, and it's a good central location.
So I confidently walk down the street, keeping my hood up, and as we reach the inn, the Golden Ewe, I would say, this is a place I know well. They're reliable. It's very clean, and I recommend this stew. And I'm gonna hold the door open for them.
A woman bustles right up. Are you all going in?
Yeah.
Any hesitation?
Yep.
Any reactions we want to play through?
Everything sounds good.
Okay, y'all are entering, and a matronly looking dwarf bustles up to you, and she says, welcome. May I ask, are you here for a bit of supper, or will we be staying the evening?
I
would
come in
definitely
at the end of the party, and I greet her so that she sees somebody she knows, and I ask her to
hello.
look after her.
Hello, ma'am. I would definitely like some stew, please, and we will talk about if we need a place to stay tonight. I'm not sure yet.
That is quite all right, my dear. Would you all like a private parlor? It looks like you just came in off the train, or that you're. Oh, sorry. I thought she would not know that. Back up. My brain. My brain, y'all. It's my brain.
Yes, a private parlor, please. We would like to have a private chat.
She's gonna say something like, "Looks like y'all have been traveling. If you'd like to freshen up, I can stick you in a private parlor. I can bring you some water, so you can clean up a little bit. If you've got any bags or anything, we can take those. And I'll bring that stew in about half an hour. How's that sound?"
That sounds lovely. Thanks.
Okay, so she leads you past a large common room and past a set of stairs, and sort of tucked behind the stairs on the right are 3 doors, and she puts you in the center one, and it opens into a narrow but long room that's got a long table on it, and then in the back corner, on the back of the room, opposite the door, in the 2 corners are 2 really big, really comfy looking chairs, and along each wall is like a sideboard. And she says, I'll knock when I come back. Let me know if you need anything else, and I'll be right back with your water. And as she's leaving, the door directly across the hall from you opens, and you can see that's the kitchen.
Is there something unusual about the kitchen, or does it look like a normal kitchen?
No, I'm just telling you where the kitchen is because kitchens are neat, and I like them. And I find it comforting when I know the layout of the building I'm in, so in D&D. So I'm telling you where the kitchen is. There's stairs and a front door and a common room and a parlor. There's 3 potentially parlors. That's all you get. Overexplained
Is there
buildings.
a way for me to be in the room with them, but also give them privacy? Does the room allow for that? I'd step into that area.
No, it's quite a narrow open room, so I don't think there's a good spot for you to do that. This might be a good time.
I suppose that maybe Aaliyah was like standing awkwardly out in the hallway while we're going in, and we're just like, "Hey, come on in. It's fine. You seem nice. Come hang out with us for a bit."
Bless you.
Right.
Perhaps may I suggest, Yume, that you're interested in news of the town, and Aaliyah seems like she knows her way around, and perhaps you want to ask her for news of the town, and that's why you invite her in, or something along those lines. We can absolutely leave it as a just come hang out.
But
But
just started with, I want to make friends, because that's what Yume is telling me. Just like, just
yeah.
nice people. Let's be friends.
I
think
forgot.
She
That
was a
is.
little hurting too, with like one of her good friends just disappeared. Freya seems to be safe,
Mm-hmm.
thanks to her like note that she had -1 seconds to write.
Mm-hmm.
But she seems to be okay. It was in her handwriting.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little tender there. So like, more friends.
More friends. Okay, that is completely fine. So you get invited in. Aaliyah, does that sound right? Are you gonna hang out with this group?
Absolutely, but I think you can see, like, from the way I kind of like go in and hesitate and then step in again. Like, I want to be in the room, but I don't really know how to do this. But I step in and sort of awkwardly, like, hi, my name's Aaliyah. That's all I've got.
Hi, Aaliyah. I'm Battle, and this is Shy and Ren. Just ignore Ren, but Shy's pretty great.
I'm completely comfortable with the large number of non-humanoid creatures in the room, and really much more awkward with the humanoid creatures present.
Excellent.
It's
I
okay,
sort of
being
nod.
awkward is fine. I'm Yume, and that's Dandy, and you don't see anything else at the moment, but she points over your shoulder. And if you turn to look, there's just this very warm, like, almost purr, like, buzzing from this, like, luminous, like, 5-inch long fuzzy bee.
I find this absolutely delightful. Like a big grin spreads across my face.
Yeah, there's nothing alarming about Dandy. It's almost impossible to be alarmed. Is that right, Yume? Right? Like
He's
just
very soothing.
He's very soothing. Great.
And I'm Winnie. I don't have any pets.
I wave
Yeah,
at
you-
you, like across the room.
You killed the last one. That could have been a pet. Says no one.
Oh no, don't tell us that.
Well, no, I'm making a joke because you tried. Some of you tried to feed the mimic that bit
Yes.
Winnie, and then Winnie murdered it.
Smash.
And y'all seem to keep trying to adopt things. I was just making a bad joke, apparently.
Most things can be a pet if you try hard enough.
That's very true. And depending on your definition of pet. Okay, so you introduce each other, and then I'm gonna go ahead and say there's an awkward silence. And
I think I noticed this, and I bring up. So I hear that you mentioned you're familiar with the town. Can you tell us a little bit more about these caves?
Absolutely. I will tell you everything I know about these caves.
so these
I
caves.
say with confidence.
So, Aaliyah, what you know about these caves are A, they're ancient, B, the townsfolk do not go there, C, there is some connection to the caves that the townsfolk you've spoken with don't want to talk about. But it does seem to be related to something they are all very worried about. And another thing I can tell you just about the town in general, they are very proud of their cloth making skills. The cloth they produce is of the finest quality. It is varied and beautiful and has the best colors, and just everybody wants this cloth. That seems to be something they're worried about right now, like the production of that. So that's what you know.
So as I'm still learning my friends' names. As Battle has asked me about the caves, I look over and I'm like, "Oh, you're curious about the caves? I've been wondering about those too. What interests you about them?"
Well, we like helping people. And I just want to know why people keep disappearing inside.
Oh, you've heard that
Learning.
people disappear.
What's that
And
you
I'm
mean?
so interested that you like helping
No, go ahead,
people.
Battle. It's fine.
That's all Battle's got, so feel free.
I think
I
I,
like
have a
learning about
tiny
ancient
lag.
things.
Sorry, you
I
may
like the ancient things.
Yeah, you may like the ancient things. And I think I heard Aaliyah say that you were interested that they liked to help people.
Yeah, just for no other reason.
No reason. You just like that. That's fair.
I'm really interested in that.
One thing you could tell them is that the town is actually named after the caverns. So
Okay, so I would absolutely tell them that they're very ancient, and that it's very taboo to visit these caverns. It doesn't seem done, and I don't really know why yet.
Oh.
But there does seem to be a sort of general community anxiety about the caves.
It sounds like maybe we shouldn't go investigating these caverns. It sounds like a bad idea. But I
Well,
don't
mean,
want the townspeople to be in fear anymore, so maybe we can help them alleviate that fear and solve their
sounds
cave
like
problem.
people are gonna keep investigating them if we don't do something about it.
there is a knock on the door.
Come in.
The door opens and the innkeeper says, "Here, I've got your hot water." She's got a giant bowl, and it's steaming gently. And she has a couple of towels over one arm. She brings that in and she sets the towels down, and she says, "I couldn't help but overhear that last bit. I heard you were interested in the caverns. I've lived here all my life. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have."
Oh, wonderful. Do you know why they're so scary? Why people don't go in them?
There are many rumors about that. What we do know is anybody that goes in does not come out. We've made it a habit just to not go there. Nothing comes out of it. There's never been any problem with monsters or really anything. But at the same time, a lot of the work we do a lot of the machinery we use is said to have come from there to make the town to make the cloth that the town is known and proud of. And she says, a couple of adventuring parties have gone in, you know the types, Glory and Gold and all that, and they've never come out. They say that there's a great noise that comes from the caverns every third moon. And I mean, I've lived here all my life, and I've heard it, and I'm sure it comes from the caverns, but it doesn't seem ominous. It's just sort of like a beast rumbling, you know, just like almost in their sleep. But nothing scary about it, except no one comes out again. I'm of the opinion that there's another entrance, and they just end up going all the way through and just never come back. That's what I tell myself.
Can I ask a question about this world?
Yes, absolutely. So I want to stream. When you have a new player come in, it can be a little difficult to be like, here's everything you need to know, or go watch all the videos, or whatever. So I've encouraged Aaliyah to ask any questions she might need to ask. And I want you to keep in mind, if you're going to add a player to a campaign that's already running, you're going to want to make sure that you make room for this, because it can be important for their gameplay, and it can help save some awkward moments later. So, yes, Aaliyah, what do you got?
It might just be the most obvious answer, but a moon and a year and all of those things, are they 365 days? Is a moon roughly 28 days?
That's an excellent question.
The same?
I'm mostly using. I haven't officially made a decision about this, but so far we're mostly using real world concepts of time, except for when I mess with them.
Okay. Okay.
But I call that
so
out.
So every third moon, I know what that means.
Yeah, that's about every 3
right,
months.
thank you.
Quarterly, if you will. Yeah. Good question. Okay. Were there any other questions? I can go fetch your stew.
You said technology that is used for the work done here came out. It originated from the caves?
Well, the mayor does like to say so. These great machines. I was never much of a weaver, so I went this route instead, and managed to buy this in a couple of years ago. Quite proud of myself, if I do say so. She flushes and she says, "Goodness." So back to your question. Yes, the looms and the great machines that they use to make these gorgeous fabrics and to create the dyes that they use on them are all ancient and quite complex. And the mayor always likes to say that they came from the caverns many, many moons ago, before even my grandfather's time.
Trying to look at Battle and Winnie. Can we go see them? That sounds really cool.
Sounds cool to me.
Yeah, it sounds good.
I did a lot of sewing back home, but it's a lot different. I'd like to see how it's done with ancient machinery.
Oh, of course.
Sounds fascinating.
My sister is actually the head weaver, loomstress. My sister's quite involved in the production. I can have her meet you in the morning, and she'd be happy to give you a tour of the warehouse that she runs.
That would be great. Please and thank you.
Of course. Now I'll go fetch that stew. Would you like water or ale, or I've got some quite fresh milk. Any beverages for y'all?
Can I get some water for the dog?
Of course. So thoughtless of me. My apologies. That will be right. I'll come right back with that.
Thank you.
So she bustles away. She leaves the door just a bit open, and she actually just pokes her hand in through the kitchen, and you see her fill this up, and you hear a water splash, and then she comes right back. She's gone for maybe 30 seconds, and you can see her the whole time. She sets the bowl down, pats Shy on the head if Shy lets her, and then she bobs sort of a curtsy, and she bustles out to get that stew.
I make a little bit of an effort to pretend we don't don't notice that, and while she's in the hallway, like, oh, she's so nice, just a little bit too loud, but not suspiciously. This is such a nice
so
place.
sweet. Yeah, when she bobs that curtsy, you can see a little blush of pleasure. All right. So she closes the door behind you, so y'all are alone again.
Would it be okay if I came with you tomorrow?
To see the looms?
I'd love to see the mysterious caves and what might be coming from them.
It might be dangerous. Are you sure you'd be able to handle yourself?
I feel confident I could be of assistance.
Do you have experience in battle?
You could say that's been my life.
Oh.
We're always open for another, I would say. What do you think?
As long as you're not afraid of the danger, I don't see why not.
There are things I'm less familiar with and need to learn more about, but danger is not one of them.
Nice. I like that. Okay, now we can absolutely role play through a nice quiet evening where I do not spring any encounters at you, and we talk about changing clothes and checking into rooms and all that stuff, or we can fast forward to tomorrow morning when the innkeeper introduces you to her sister. Is there anything anybody wants to do before that moment, or would we all like to jump to that moment?
I'm happy to fast forward quite a bit.
Fast
As long
forward,
as,
yeah.
like,
Yep.
do you want to specify that we, at least you makes an effort to have a conversation with Aaliyah and get to know her, and not just be, like, awkward, like, we are as humans trying to meet each other.
Absolutely. I think it is safe to say that y'all have a meal together, and over that meal, you exchange some good commonplace information. Now, Aaliyah, would you be an oversharer or more reserved?
I think reserved, but it's not that I'm withholding, it's that
Right.
I don't have a lot to say.
Yes. But do you think Aaliyah?
No.
Yeah, that works. Do you think
Yeah.
Aaliyah would cover I don't have a lot to say by asking questions of the people around her? Or would she sit quietly? Like, doesn't have a lot to say both information-wise or questions? Or do you think she'd be trying to engage with the group?
I'm definitely trying to engage.
Okay.
But if asked about interests or hobbies, I don't really have answers,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm much more interested in sort of learning from the people I'm with, and I'm there's a sense that I'm paying a great deal of attention to the people in this room. There's a deep curiosity about these people, and there's an openness, but at the same time, I guess you would get a sense of just not being familiar with this kind of interaction.
All right. Is it safe to say by the end of the evening, when everybody goes to bed, y'all have picked up on the fact that, oh, I have a raid. That doesn't happen very often. Thank you, Ashenworks, for
Hello.
raiding, and hello, new viewers. Hi. Yes, raid. Thanks so much for joining. We were just getting to know this new player in Broken Vein. Let me know if y'all have any questions. Love the new faces. All right. So would it be safe to say by the end of the evening, y'all walk away with the idea that Aaliyah is friendly, seems competent, and does not seem she seems like the opposite of creepy or standoffish or any negative things. It seems like she might be a good fit for this group, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Is it a safe bet to say that's what all three of you walk away with? Now,
Yeah.
I'm getting some
For the
nods.
most part.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one evening, so you'll need to build on that. But first impression is, this is not an evil humanoid. I forget what you are.
Absolutely not evil.
Yes,
I
okay.
think she might be a little bit reckless, like she's talking a big game. She'll have to prove that she's actually capable.
Great, yes, that's perfect. I love these details. Now, Aaliyah, I think and everybody help me out with this. I think what you would have picked up from the folks around you, Winnie is quieter. Winnie doesn't share a ton about her past, but she does seem to feel, she does feel very much like part of this group. She doesn't seem like a loner. She's just on the more quiet side. Does that sound right, Winnie?
Yes.
Okay.
Very much so.
Now, Yume is sort of the other end of that spectrum. Yume is bubbly and cheerful and wants to know as much about you as possible, and it seems very keen on your comfort, but also there's an intelligence there. You're not going to fool this person. Does that sound right, Yume?
Yes, it does.
Great. And Battle. I think what you pick up from Battle is an interesting character where there's quietness there, but there's also a great deal of engagement. You also see her take very good care of her dogs. Sorry, they're not two dogs. It's a dog and a turtle, Shauna. It's a dog and a turtle. She takes very good care of her dog and the turtles. She makes sure that they're getting their food and that they're comfortable. She also seems to be doing that with the rest of the group. This might be somebody who is sort of an invisible linchpin of the group, right? Like sort of an understated linchpin. She's facilitating conversation, that kind of thing. Does that sound right, Battle?
Yeah, for sure. And for what it's worth, Ren always wants to be a dog, so it's fine.
Yeah. It's a friggin' turtle. Okay, so so y'all go to bed. Everybody has good, calm, quiet feelings about each other. And is there anything else you wanted to get done before you wake up in the morning? I like dealing with encounters like this where there's always a lot of value in being able to play through those role-playing moments, but it can also be a little awkward. So I like to offer my players options where you want to have the conversation straight out like you're doing it in real life, go for it. You want to sort of say this is kind of what happened, you can also do that. I've got a player in another campaign who's a face, so he's always the one that starts the conversations with the townsfolk and stuff, but he himself is not super fond at putting words together. So what he'll say is, I approach the person and I'll say, all right, what about, tell me what you want to talk to them about. And then I'll ask him if this is what it sounds like. And we'll tweak it until it sounds like what he thinks that character would say. I am perfectly happy to do that with anybody at this table as well. I find that y'all do a little bit of both. Sometimes we sort of high level it through a conversation like we just did. Sometimes y'all just have the conversation, which I think is really fun too. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's good to have that option.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes it is natural, we can just talk, but sometimes we know what the intention is for the conversation. We just don't have the juice to put out all the words as if we were in our characters' minds. So.
Right. Or you just want to get to the next bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Being able to be transparent about it and talk about it as a group, like as players. Mm-hmm. Good tool. I
think that is fun. Now, I feel really bad because we just got raided, but this is our usual break time. We are going to disappear for about 5 minutes, but I very much promise we'll be back. I'll actually stay at the table, quote unquote, and I can answer any questions anybody might have in stream. But players, go ahead and run away for 5 minutes. So come back 5 minutes after the hour. If anybody needs any more time, just shoot me a DM. I'm going to go ahead and mute your microphones so nobody on stream can hear you, but I'll stay on screen. You may just said stay around for danger, caverns, and looms. And Winnie said yes. So there's that. Does anybody have any questions that I can answer in stream? Because the players have run away to take a quick break. This is a fun party. They're all heroes. I specifically approached each one of the original players and said, hey, I want to put a campaign together and I want you all on purpose to be heroes. And they were like, we're in. And they built these really interesting characters. We're finding more about them day by day. One of the interesting things about this group is we started by playing through a module, which I wasn't very familiar with. And I used this stream to sort of be an example for how to get started, how to play, and how to deal with certain things that come up at the table. And playing through the module was really interesting because we were able to talk about what you do when a module just isn't working, doesn't make sense, needs to be tweaked. So that was kind of fun. Then we rocked into an original adventure, which was sort of train heisty. and very roleplay heavy. After each arc, after each little storyline, I asked them what they're interested in next. So they told me last time that they're interested in puzzles. They'd like they like the role playing aspect. They'd like to see a little more. I think they said a little more combat. I can't quite remember, but puzzles and role play is something this group really likes. So one of the players mentioned once that we can spend an entire session going over something that seems like it would only take 5 minutes in game time. And I asked them very seriously if that was something they didn't like. And they said, no, I really like it. It just does tend to take quite a long time. I recommend you check in with your groups about this fairly regularly. It's something I recommend you do in a session 0, like if this is a very roleplay, storytelling, collaborative, engagements style of campaign. Are you good with that? Because that's what you're getting into. Is an example of what we talked about in our session 0. And then you want to check in with them regularly, because you can have a player be like, yeah, I'm totally into it. And then 3 months later, they're like, actually, I'd like to see more combat. Or, no, I'm not good at the role-playing stuff, so I feel useless in this campaign. And if that happens, you want to work with them to figure out a way that they can feel more included or things like that. At least, that is my opinion. I am not seeing any questions yet, which is completely fine. I'll go ahead and throw up the be right back screen, because I think that actually works. My starting soon screen is broken right now. If you do have any questions, go ahead and toss them in chat and I will respond in kind. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Thank you, stream. Hi, Stream, we're back, and I managed to unmute everybody's microphone all at the same time. So we're doing good. All right, so you wake up the next morning, and you head back down to that parlor that you used last night. The innkeeper said you could use that. She's already bringing in, as soon as you're up, she's bringing in water. There's a smaller version of her helping. She brings you breakfast. She takes your orders, brings you breakfast. She's actually got a couple of options. It's quite nice. The food's tasty. It's not anything to write home about, but it's, filling and will not poison you. And as you're finishing up breakfast, she knocks, pokes her head in, and says, "My sister is here. May I introduce her now, or would you like a couple more moments?"
Go ahead and bring her in.
So she pokes her head back out, and she says, "This is my sister Louise," and a identical version of the woman who's been the innkeeper for you walks in, bobs a curtsy, shoos her sister out, the innkeeper, who sticks her tongue out. She thinks behind everybody's back, but you all see it. And the woman, the dwarf lady you're looking at right now, while identical to the innkeeper was wearing plain spun, muted colors, apron, work clothes. The woman standing in front of you is wearing beautiful silks with just the most amazing colors and what looks like embroidery, but is actually just dyed cloth. It's understated but intricate. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's in shades of a rather beautiful verdant green.
Yume will also curtsy and say, "Wow, your clothing is beautiful," in Dwarvish. Very excitedly.
She claps her hands together a little bit and says, "Why, thank you so much. This is the kind of work that comes out of our town." She continues in Dwarvish. Then she pauses, and in Common she says, "My apologies. Is Dwarvish all right for us to speak in, or shall I stick to Common? But thank you so much for greeting me in my home tongue."
Yume makes an embarrassed, sorry face to the rest of the group, like, "Oh, just didn't mean to carry on." Like putting her hand in front of her mouth, kind of thing.
She said she sort of flips her hand at you, like, "Oh, don't even worry about it." And she says, "My sister tells me that you are quite interested in the machinery we use to make such fine cloth. She mentioned that you were very interested in that the machinery comes from the cavern. The mayor is very fond of saying so, but I must tell you that the machinery that we use is so ancient that I couldn't actually say where it comes from. And since nobody has gone into the caverns and then come back out alive, or at all, where there's no real way to say if they've come out of the caverns. If you're still interested in seeing the machinery, I would love to show you. I love giving tours. It's one of my favorite things to show off how we do what we do. I'm very proud of the work we do here."
If my friends will indulge me, I would like to see how it works.
Sure. Sounds
Yeah,
fun.
we'll go along.
Wonderful, right this way. She takes you back out to the street, and she actually takes you to the other end of the street than the one that you entered on, and she takes a right. And down the street you're on now, there are warehouse after warehouse after warehouse. And she gestures to them and she says, "All of the machinery that we use to make and dye the fabrics that this town produces are all contained in these warehouses. We keep it all central because you'll find..." She starts babbling on about this industry. She keeps up a sort of a soothing rhythm. You can listen or not, but she basically goes over the idea that, you make the cloth and you dye the cloth. It goes back and forth. There are some people that are trained on both. There are some smaller dye and production areas, but there are some mass production areas. She's actually going to show you one of the mass production areas because that's what she's in charge of. She's in charge of mass producing very large swaths of silk, similar to what she's wearing here. She takes you to the third warehouse down. You notice that the windows in the warehouse are quite high up, and they're very long and they're very wide. And she gestures at them and she says, "We were quite fortunate to trade with the glassworks a couple of towns over. This produces much better light, which of course is necessary when you're making cloth and you're dealing with dye." she takes you into they're huge barn door. They're big. They're 2 or 3 times the size of actual barn doors at the front, and you can see a cart pulled up to a warehouse further down, and those doors are open and they're loading stuff onto it. She takes you through a smaller, sort of humanoid-sized door, and she says, "Right this way." And as you step into this warehouse, you are stepping into, it's 3 stories high. There are great beams across the roof. The windows are letting in just so much light. It's very bright in here. You can also see mirrors set at different areas that are magnifying the light, making it a little brighter in certain pools across the floor. You see huge tables. You see giant swaths of gorgeous silks in varying colors. And then around the tables, you see the most complex machinery I think any of you have ever seen. Are any of you familiar with what a loom looks like? It's basically a big frame and has moving bits that whip back and forth, and I actually don't know if silk is made this way, so let's just pretend. You see giant versions of the looms that you're familiar with, but they're made out of material that doesn't look like it's made out of wood. And she actually comments on the fact that they're not actually sure what the machines are made of. It's a kind of metal they think, but it's not magnetic. But it doesn't break very easily, and it doesn't catch on anything. That's very important when you're making silk, that it's very smooth. She rattles on about how with wood you have to use certain kinds of wood that's very expensive, and these have been around for ages and they work for blah blah blah. So she's giving you a tour of this entire space, and the machines you're seeing are wondrous. They're not everyday things that you see. They're huge. Like, if they did come from the caverns, how did they get here? Like, they're absolutely gigantic. You get about...
Her eyes are answers.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for her? Because she will absolutely answer them.
Yeah, if one of them breaks, how do you fix it if you don't know what materials it's made out of?
Roll me an insight check.
Okay, that's better than a natural 4. Let me look at my modifier. 17.
You see a flicker of worry, like a deep, almost terrified worry, flash across her face before she puts on a huge smile and says, "Well, that is quite the interesting question. Now over here you'll see," and she does not answer it.
Oh.
I think Battle's ears perk up at this, and that's when Battle's really drawn into the conversation. I'm just observing, wanting to ask another question that makes her uncomfortable.
Of course, Battle wants to make her uncomfortable. She's wobbly a little bit for the next couple of facts that are. She sort of repeats things she said before and giggles uncomfortably because, I've said that before. She gets back on track, though, and continues. Any other questions?
Don't have anything specifically in mind. Just while we're here, trying to listen for anything that might be... I know this is super, high level vague, but, listening for things that might be helpful to know about the technology in case we come across something relevant to it when we go into the caverns.
She tells you
that sort of thing while chatting her up.
She tells you that they are quite ancient. One of the things that you pick up, she drops that word all the time. I'm not just doing that as the GM. She is dropping that word a lot. She mentions that some of the, how would she put this? Some of the proportions of the operators seemed to be different than a humanoid would be. So they've had to come up with some workarounds, right? If a humanoid wouldn't have quite that reach, or if a humanoid wouldn't quite fit into that space, they've had to come up with workarounds to make some of the controls work. And the way she brings it up is she's very proud of this. She also
I
says.
think I would ask.
Oh, sorry. Really quickly. She also says. Another thing she says quite often is, "They just work. They just work." And what were you going to say, Leo?
The machines are too short or too long for humanoid bodies.
Both. She mentions that she mostly she refers to it as like the proportions just seemed to be a little odd. Whoever made them, whoever made them wasn't quite thinking about actually using them. That sort of thing.
Can I casually I'm gonna just touch it sort of as we walk past. Is it within reach for me to do that?
Oh, absolutely.
So I just want to feel like, is it cold? Is it humming? Is it
The room
soft?
the room that you're in is quite warm because everybody there's so many people in here. They're moving very rapidly. It's the kind of environment that is just a little warmer than your average giant warehouse space. But there are currents of a clear cold air running through this because it's a giant warehouse space. And how do you heat that? When you touch the metal, it is almost like you're not touching anything except for the pressure, because it's the exact temperature of your skin.
Can I ask whenabouts these were made?
She can't tell you that. She says they've been around since before my grandfather's grandfather. All we know is that they're ancient.
And I say quietly to Battle, like, I think they're magical, but I don't know how to really check for that. I think Freya knew how to look for magic. I haven't practiced it.
I think I actually know how to detect magic as a furbolg. I do.
Then I'll say it loud enough for you to hear, conveniently.
I am going to, as surreptitiously as I can, even though I'm not very practiced at it, cast detect magic.
I think I'm gonna just kind of casually body block just a little.
Is this a racial thingy, or is it an actual spell?
It's a racial
Cool.
spell.
It is the spell detect magic, but furbolgs get to cast it once per day.
Once per short rest.
Ooh, wow.
Yes.
Okay. No, that's not what I wanted. Sorry. I was looking for my cheat sheet for Schools of Magic. Here it is. Okay. There's this, there's a blog called the Alpine DM, and I like some of their guides. I think they're amusing. Okay. So the way that detect magic works, I believe, is that you can see magic and understand the school of magic that it comes from. And in Zinlia, the way that I do this is that you see auras of certain colors, and that's what tells you what kind of school it is. But I don't adhere to the schools exactly. So what I'm going to do is tell you, you do actually see stuff, which is why I'm going into this. What I'm going to tell you is you see an aura around the machinery that seems really faint until you concentrate, and then you realize it's actually quite strong, but it is usually an aura stands out from the object that is magicked, and in this case it is so tight to the actual surface of the machine that you can barely see how strong it is. This would indicate that it is very powerful and very precise magic, because what you're seeing when you cast detect magic, and you're seeing that aura is sort of the bleed of the magic, sort of a fuzzy bleed over. Because it's so precise, because it's so close to the actual machinery, it's a little difficult to tell what kind of magic it is, but it feels a lot like transmutation magic, where you're taking one thing and turning it into another. But it also appears to be similar to evocation magic, where you're just sort of like letting energy go. It's like there's energy being grabbed and turned into something. It's a little difficult to unravel. You'd have to spend some more time investigating this.
I I'm going to not say anything in the presence of our host, but I will, as soon as we are out of earshot of our host, maybe on our way to the caverns, I will relay this information to the party.
I am an elf who grew up with wood elves, and have recognized the wood elf in the party, and I'm curious. I want to figure out how to ask this wood elf if they can tell if these things are alive. Because I don't know everyone's powers. So I think I would try and say something loaded. I guess I speak Elvish, so would I say...
Are you talking to Battle?
Yeah, I'm looking right at Battle.
Okay.
But really, obviously trying to be surreptitious, not necessarily the most gifted at it, but I don't think I'm horribly clumsy either, but like, it's almost like they're alive, and I sort of, it's a little bit sus. And we are sus for sure right now.
I think I raise an eyebrow and say in Elvish back, we'll definitely look into this. Does the other person notice? Does the host notice that we're talking in Elvish?
No, I think it's the kind of thing where she is bustling on ahead, and she'll occasionally turn and ask if there are any questions, but she keeps going. And if she has done that, she sees you both chatting. It's the kind of thing where like you're just. I think y'all are pulling it off where you're just chatting. You're not having like a serious conversation, so she just keeps going. She's gonna get about 3/4 of the way back. Through this warehouse, and another person that looks exactly like her bustles up and says, "Louise, it's happening again." And she says, "Hush, hush, Lily. I am giving a tour. Folks, this is my sister Lily. Oh, we're triplets. Lily and I went into the family business, while our sister just had to start an inn. I have to step away for just a moment to deal with just a very small, of course, issue. But I will be right back. There's a break table right over here. Fresh coffee, fresh tea. Why don't you just sit yourself down? Emily brings in the most gorgeous baked goods. I'll be right back." She basically hustles you over to the table. Is anyone resisting, or are you just going to kind of go with it?
Just go with
Oh, no.
it.
Thank you, it's no problem at all. I hope everything's okay.
"I'll be right back. Everything's just fine." She bustles away with Lily.
I'd like to do a thing.
Yes?
My default is to have Dandy invisible when we're like in public, like in business situations.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to attempt to have Dandy bump into I forgot her name already. Our main host currently.
Louise.
And get Louise's emotional state off of her, and have that relayed back to me through Dandy, then have them follow them.
Is this the kind of thing where he has to like bump into her and make her lose balance, or is this like a brush by?
He just has to make contact.
Okay, so can we say it's just a brush by? So she almost doesn't even notice, because and if she does, she'd probably brush it off as like running into some fabric or something, because it's hanging and it's everywhere. And the emotional state. So can you explain what you're doing, what this is mechanically?
Sure. Yeah. The ability is called Heart Sight. They touch a creature and magically know the creature's current emotional state. If the target fails a saving throw, they also know the creature's alignment. Celestials, fiends, and undead automatically fail. I'm not necessarily trying to use the second part, just getting the vague sense of what their emotional state is.
Her anxiety is through the roof. She is extremely worried. There's fear there. It's not like a visceral, I'm gonna die fear. It's more of it's similar to the state that your friend was in all those probably weeks ago for you in game time, your friend was worried about the farm failing. The y'all had the service dog, the working dogs farm, right? Yeah, she was worried about that failing and failing the farm and the business and all that kind of stuff. Very similar feelings from this lady, that it's all going wrong, it's gonna fail, she can't fix it, that kind of thing.
Genuine high concern and not like just irritation, like trying to shore things up by actually addressing a real problem that she's aware of.
Yeah, she's freaking out
Okay.
in real life.
I'll telepathically communicate to Dandy, who's just like, hey, just go hang out with them, keep an eye on them, just in case.
You get an affirmation back from D&D. I'm
Sit at the
making
table with my
notes.
friends.
You're the only people there. There are people bustling around working. This just isn't quite break time for them yet, but you get friendly smiles and oh hellos, but everyone is extremely busy. What do y'all do?
I really want to use my invisibility spell. Go listen in.
One thing I find really interesting about D&D sessions is, yeah, I mean, we're not playing every day, right? So it can be sort of fuzzy what the concept of day is. And I find that some players will hoard their spells. They'll just hoard them. Which you don't always have to do, I say unsubtly.
What's going
I'm
on,
just
Daddy?
worried-
Looks like you're thinking about something.
I want to go eavesdrop.
Do you
Do
want
it.
to go eavesdrop? Or do you want me to
Yeah.
use a little trick I have already with somebody eavesdropping?
Yeah, do it. Will you be willing? Otherwise, I'm happy to.
Well, I don't want you to get caught. I already have Dandy following them.
Do it. Okay, yes, please. That'd be great.
All right, so you
I
do
will
you wanna listen in through, you wanna listen in through D&D's senses, right?
Mm-hmm. Gonna put my, like, how do I describe this? She's changing her posture a little bit, so like putting her hand halfway across the table and just like sitting up straight. And there's a little bit of like a glittering at like her eyes lose focus a little bit. There's a little sense of magic for people who know about it, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's super obvious. Like just a subtle little thing. So I'm taking on Dandy's sight and hearing.
I really like the idea of sort of a sunshine glow around your eyes and your ears. It's so faint and this place is full of light, so no one's gonna notice, but I really like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making notes. Okay. So, D&D is following Louise specifically. Louise bustles after Lily. You tune in. Oh, I'm hearing. Oh, I know what I'm hearing. One moment. You tune into in the middle of what she was saying to somebody, to Lily specifically. And she's saying, "It can't be happening again. I thought we had fixed that." And Lily says back, "We can't fix anything. We don't know how to fix any of this stuff. It's all ancient and we don't have any of the tools." And Louise says, calm down. We have guests. You can't be like this in front of guests." And Lily's like, "I don't know what to do." And she's sort of wailing. And Louise, you hear a sharp slap, and you see Louise has actually slapped Lily. And Lily has her hand up to her face, and Louise has her hand up, like to. Lily has her hand up to where Louise slapped her, and Louise has her hand up in front of her mouth like she cannot believe she just did that. And she reaches out and she grabs her sister's hands and she says, "I am so sorry. You have to stop freaking out." And Lily was like, "You hit me." And Louise is like, "I did. I should never have done that. I'm so sorry." And they sort of sink down into chairs, and like Lily's about to start sobbing and Louise is breathing very quickly, like things are just completely overwhelming. A very thin, very tall elf comes over and he says, "Ladies, we have reached the point. I think we need to have a conference with the other makers." And they both look up at him, and Louise stands up and she straightens her dress and she says, "We have guests, but please call the conference. If you think it's time," and he says, it's time. We can't keep going like this. Everything is breaking down. We need those tools. We need somebody to go into the caverns. And she says, "No one has come out of the caverns, ever." And he says, it's the only way, or the town is done for. And I'll just check in with y'all, see if you want to keep listening or you want to stop and do something.
Oh no, they're fighting. The looms are breaking. Just kind of like just minor stream of consciousness, talking to them quietly as things are going on. I guess it would be a lot to say all at once afterward.
Oh yeah, of
But
course.
hopefully they know that I
You're-
can't hear them.
You're giving little notes, and they're covering for you, probably like ha 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 at like random jokes, but they're listening, I think. Does that sound right, group?
That sounds like a good thing, but I don't know if any of us are capable of that. Not trying to be mean about it, but are we socially capable of
Are-
doing that sort of thing?
Would any of you think of that? Do you think any of your characters would be like, "Ah, yes, Yume's, yes, ha ha ha, oh, that's such a funny joke." Do you think anyone would do that, or would you all stare intently at Yume while she's listening through Danny's ears?
I feel like I have enough of a clue that if someone indicates to me that like this is what Yume's doing, like I would be able to facilitate a not brilliant cover conversation, but I would certainly give it a go. But I don't know, right? Like
Well-
I don't know this is what's happening. Someone has to tell me.
I think you would have. I mean, Yume said, "I have Dandy eavesdropping," and you would have seen this kind of pairing before. She's basically
Okay.
looking through the eyes of like a familiar. You've definitely seen that
Okay.
before. You've worked with scouts that have done that and all that kind of thing. This is not unusual.
Okay, so at first I thought Dandy was going to be reporting back, but very quickly then I realized that's not what this is.
Right.
And so I'm able to sort of facilitate an awkward cover conversation, but it's no different from my usual awkwardness, so it's probably quite believable.
Perfect.
Could I engage in awkward conversation and also turn Yume gently, if Yume's okay with this, turn Yume gently towards the coffee station and make it look like we're making coffee and tea? So the
Yeah.
starey face is towards the station and not the people.
Mm-hmm. Very good. I think I overcomplicated some of this. I convey all of that information that is important to everyone
I
in
don't.
some way or another.
I don't think you overcomplicated this. I think we just had a really interesting conversation about what's happening. I am absolutely fascinated with this. I tend to turn your stories, these stories we tell together, I turn them into books later, and this is the meat. This is the little stuff that I need, to flesh out your characters. So I love it. Is Winnie being very awkward? Is Winnie sitting bolt upright and sort of like, "I don't know how to cover for this"? And if anybody walked over, you sort of jump a little? Like, is that Winnie? Yeah, I'm getting a nod. I think I engaged your mute because I heard some bumps and
Sorry.
stuff. I'm unmuting you. There you go. Sorry.
Yes, that is exactly what is happening.
Great. I'm just going to write down Winnie is awkward. That'll cover that. Okay.
I don't know if I can detect this, but you can tell me if I can or not.
Uh-huh.
Do I get the sense that they're going to come back and be like, come back to us to dismiss us, be like, "Oh, sorry, we can't continue the tour, blah blah blah," or if they're just going right off to a meeting?
Oh,
So that would determine whether we have to chase them up or if they're going to come back and talk to us.
so I checked back in with you to see how you were conveying the information and to see if you wanted to continue listening to this conversation.
I'll listen a little bit further.
Okay. So you just heard the gentleman say, "We have to send people into the cavern to fetch the cavern, or the town is doomed." Lily starts to wail again and then cuts herself off and puts her hand up to the cheek that her sister hit. And Louise straightens her shoulders again, impossibly straighter, and she says, "We have to get quorum with the other makers. Our guests are actually adventurers, it looks like. They may be able to help us, but we'll have to make sure that they're..." And she sort of like makes vague hand gestures that mean nothing, and the guy goes, yes, trustworthy, capable, of course. Yes, of course, of course. Well, I don't know, get rid of them so we can have this meeting. And she says, you gather the other makers. I'll finish up the tour really quickly, and I'll meet you over there. Make sure you get everyone, even Elvin. And he says, okay, fine, okay. And he seems sort of exasperated, like, if I have to. And he bustles off. Louise turns to Lily and she says, just keep doing what you can. And Lily was like, I can't do anything. And Louise is like, okay, go into the office and I want you to sit down and I want you to make a cup of tea. And I want you to make it. Don't make anybody else get it for you. You know how that ritual calms you down. And Lily's like, okay, okay. She's like hiccuping. And Louise is like, just go do that. Make 1 cup of tea, drink it, and then you'll be fine. And Lily's like, okay, I'll be fine, okay. And she like wobbles off.
Out.
Yeah.
She comes out of her dreamy state like, Alvin seems kind of important. Doesn't realize that nobody else knows who this Elvin person is.
I don't know what that
That's what
means.
was happening. Oh, no, it's okay. There's a group of them that are freaking out quite a bit, and I think they're going to be coming to talk to us any minute now.
Louise appears in that instance, and almost out of nowhere, she bustles up so quickly, and she says, "Well, so it turns out there's some business that I need to take care of. So let's finish up this tour quite quickly, all right?" And then she turns around on her heel and she starts to walk away at a very quick pace. She is rattling off facts rapidly. There's no longer the cozy, soothing tone. She is like, and over here you'll see, and over here you'll see, and over here you'll see, and we do it this way, and this is very cool, and okay, and we're done. Any questions? No? Great. It was so wonderful to meet all of you. Can you make it back to my sister's on your own? Excellent. Thank you so much. You will be staying at my sister's inn, at the Golden U. Yes? And she waits for an answer.
Oh, gosh.
Yes? That is the plan?
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And she claps her hands together again. This woman is a ball of anxiety. And then she spins around on her heel, closes the door gently behind you, and you can see through the glass on it that she just like sprints away from you. She hikes up her...
So I couldn't stop her from closing the door, could I?
Yeah.
Before she sprints away.
What do you want to do?
I think I would be like, but wait, you said you help people. She's upset, and I really want to say, I just want to catch her before she leaves and go, is it anything we can help with? Because this is the thing I'm most interested in, right? Is like the helping part.
You see her try to control her face. Can you roll an insight check for me?
Just looking at my modifier.
You're good.
20, unnatural, dirty.
Excellent. You see surprise that you're offering to help when all she said is there's something she needs to take care of. Fear that somehow you know. Because this is something that like you've picked up that has been kept quiet. That fear is very striking. And then you see the mask drop down again of, "Oh, well, of course, my dear, if there's anything that we can think of that your very interesting party would be able to help us with, we will contact you at the Golden U. Thank you so much." And she tries to leave again.
Okay, I'm not gonna force it. And I sort of look back at my new companions like, hope you don't mind that I did that.
I just volunteered you.
I definitely give a look of understanding. Like, above the table talk, I'm trying to figure out whether I just go full irony and be like, gee, I'm glad we got through this tour quickly so we can go to the caves. But I'm not sure that's a good idea.
I feel like Battle's just sitting back smugly smiling watching this happen.
Yeah. That is fair.
They did say that they're interested in, like, when she's gone, it's like, they did say they're interested in finding adventurers that can help, and we sound like we fit the description of people they would want to help out, so maybe they will come find us once they have their meeting.
Yeah, I mean, she just looked so anxious and upset, and I know you guys like helping people, right?
It sounds like my earlier question was on the nose. It sounds like something broke.
It did. Their looms are breaking.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Are
wait,
you-
I guess I don't know that for sure. But something's breaking that they don't know what to do about.
Oh.
I think you heard them say that everything is breaking, and
that's-
all of the makers need to have a conversation about it. You can suppose that's the equipment they're using. Because they say this, he said something about it being so old and there are no tools, and they need to go into the caverns.
Everything is breaking.
Everything is breaking.
It just seemed like none of them wanted to go in there, so
Into the caverns?
hopefully
Yeah, no, that's a
we
big.
can manage that problem.
Are you having this conversation right outside the door she kicked you out of? Are you having it as you're walking back towards the inn? Are,
I
As
imagine
we're
that we're
walking.
going back,
Are you-
unless there
Yeah.
were.
are you doing that thing where you link arms and you walk with your legs one over the other? No.
I
that.
definitely am
Was it
not.
about-
Okay. Just curious.
And as we're walking back, I'm also relaying to them what I sensed about them being magical in nature.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that's right.
interesting.
Yeah.
Was it just the devices that were magical, or did you see any magic in the fabrics they were making with it?
Just the devices.
Just the device.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know what to do about this information.
Well, whatever we're about to discover in the caverns is probably going to be magical in nature.
Now,
Mhm.
are you heading back to the inn, or are you going straight to the caverns?
My inclination is to go to the inn and wait for them to call on us.
Okay.
But that I would just share that that's my inclination. You know, I'd just say, so are we going to go back and wait for them to give us a call, or I'm obviously deferring to the group.
Okay.
I mean, why wait? Why not just get ahead of it and see if we can solve the mystery before they ask us to help?
I don't know how long it'll take in there, and we do want to kind of put them at ease. And if they're hoping to get someone to help them, we should let them know that we're helping them.
Battle?
Could we let the innkeeper know?
I feel
The
really good
sister,
about what we're
yes.
doing and about listening in on their conversation, but it would be a little bit shocking if, like, we shouldn't know everything we know right now, so we should probably wait until they tell us.
Ah.
But if we were curious about the caves already, and then we're like, hey, we're gonna go check out the caves. Hopefully we'll find some cool stuff. Or would you
Mhm.
rather? I'm okay with waiting if you want to wait. It's up to you.
Yeah, let's hang out back at the inn for a little bit.
All right.
Winnie's
have a
going to
snack.
look disappointed and kind of. You didn't notice that she kind of had her axe in her hand and is kind of like trying to quietly put it away, so you didn't notice she got it out.
Is there anything y'all want to do while you're waiting, or do you want to jump to the next bit?
Do
Assuming they
I
do actually
will-
come to find us, I would like to fast forward to that.
Fair enough. Sorry.
I have a conversation I'd like to have. Is that
That's
do we have a
exactly
bit of
the
time for
that's
that?
exactly the kind of thing I wanted to know about. Yeah, what conversation do you want to have?
I am gonna wait for Battle to sort of be slightly on her own, and then in Elvish ask her if it's okay that I spoke to her like that earlier.
Yeah, that was all right. I was a bit surprised. It sounded a bit familiar.
I know I don't look like a wood elf, but I spent many of my formative years growing up in a wood elf town.
I don't have the most wonderful memories from growing up in a village of wood elves. But hopefully we can journey together and enjoy one another nonetheless.
it's been many years for me also, and I have some very mixed feelings. But I want you to know that, in my own awkward way, it's very comforting to know that you're with this group.
That's a really
I think
interesting
that gives me
dynamic.
Although I might not look it.
I think Battle probably is letting her guard down just a little. Shona, do you want me to tell the audience at all where this is coming from, or are we keeping backstory, or?
Well, that's an excellent question. This is something everybody has to make a choice for themselves. You can either explain all of the backstory, or you can play through and explain what you want to explain. You can say something like, so Battle feels like this, and you can just not explain it. It can come up in little dribs and drabs later. Or you can just give us a backstory dump right now. That's a choice that is completely up to you.
Backstory dump. I'm fairly certain the other characters are already aware, but I think I for sake of time and adventure progress, I'll probably skip the long explanation, but just kind of fills in Aaliyah on her history of feeling kind of out of place in her village and working as a mortician to find comfort and space from the people who were judging her before she left on adventures to find her own path. Just taking a risk based on the context cues.
That's awesome. How does Aaliyah respond to that?
I'm clearly honored that Battle shared this with me, and I thank you so much for sharing that with me. I too know what it's like to grow up in a people where you feel on the outside. And while I feel very at home with Wood Elves and with you, I certainly feel some affinity with your story. And that's all. I get a little bit choked up at that stage.
I think Battle's feeling a little exposed as well, so she kind of bravely stomachs, like, okay.
Feelings.
Yeah, we've both been courageous, and that's about all we've
a little
got.
uncomfortable. Yeah, put the face back on.
Yeah.
Shy is like putting her head under Battle's hand, and then under Aaliyah's hand, and then under Battle's hand, and then under Aaliyah's hand, and then eventually is like, you know what? Forget it. Just follows along behind you.
I think Battle acknowledges her. It's okay. You're okay. Thank you. Good girl.
Great. All right, so you're heading back to the inn. You're going to wait for somebody to come chat with you because you're pretty sure that's going to happen. You at least need to have a conversation with somebody so you can explain how you know what you know. Is that a good summary of what's occurring right this second? I think this is where we're going to end it because anything else is going to take a bit of time and we're close to the end of our session. Does that sound all right? Anything anybody else wants to do real quick before we do our wrap-up? Okay. I'm saying you're heading back to the inn. Need to have a convo to explain how they know stuff.
I can't think of a way to do this in character, but since this game isn't strangers to doing, like, in our character's mind sort of little blips of things.
Yeah.
I feel like you may, going back to the inn, is thinking about how they're triplets, or like all of this family, the women look very similar to each other. So she's thinking about, like, how she was an only child, and wondering if she had siblings, what they might look like. And then it was a silly thought for me at first of using mirror image to make multiple Yumeis walking around, but I thought that might be offensive. But then I thought about it in a more wholesome way of, like, maybe she would do it just to simulate, like, I'm triplets. I have siblings that look like me. Just a little bit of thought of, like, thinking about maybe using that spell, thinking better of it, because it's not, like, it would be silly. Like, it wouldn't make sense to the innkeeper why she's doing that, but just a little, like, simulation, I guess.
I really like that. I like that that exploration there. That you had a thought and followed it like that. I think that's really fascinating because it's an impact I didn't predict, you know, and it's good character development. I like it. Okay, I think we're going to move into the portion where I write down things that y'all learned this evening, and then we'll talk about the role-playing point. So, Stream, what we're going to do after the learned is we're going to capture good role-playing moments. I do accept those for nominations on good, solid character role-playing moments from chat. The players will vote on who gets the RP point for next time. So think of those while the group goes over what they learned today. What'd y'all learn today?
This town has magical looms that they don't know how to fix.
Yeah, that's a good
Breaking.
summary.
Technology is so amazing.
They're a far amount less confident internally than they are externally about these caverns or their safety.
Sorry, they're less confident.
On the outside, they portray as if they're very comfortable and nonchalant about the caverns, but they're very afraid.
Okay.
Or seem to be, based on data we've picked up.
Got it. What else?
I mean, everything. I think Aaliyah, everything was a big learning curve for Aaliyah today.
Aaliyah learned so much.
What I learned about the town was that, you know, we met three sisters who are all identical, and I have questions about whether or not there are more of them. What I learned about the party is that maybe these people really are good, and they really, when I pushed it, like, they really didn't mind the idea of helping people, and that's so interesting. And also that there's a little bit of a kinship with Battle, so that was interesting, although just data at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Hospitality seems to be important here, or at least in this particular family.
Yep. Hang on. Hospitality seems important to this family. Got it. What else did you learn?
That the fabrics really are as amazing and elaborate as the rumors say.
There's ancient machinery that is magic, that like is very refined magic that people don't understand nowadays, that was in a cave. And it's a complicated statement, but that's still blowing my mind this whole time.
You just wait. Okay, more learns. Are we ready for the RP points? All right, RP points it is. What's today? Okay, what do you guys got for RP points? Good role-playing moments.
Oh, I can't remember what she said, but there was the moment when things got really severe. When, like, Aaliyah said something like... I don't remember the words, but the feeling was like, all I know is pain. Do you remember what you said?
I can't remember what she said either.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
There
good.
are things I need to learn about, but danger is not one of them.
I loved that.
That's so good.
Something like that.
It didn't feel very dark, but it was definitely, like, a tone
Just
shift
matter of
suddenly.
fact. Uh-huh.
Like, the weight of the room got a little heavier. Like, oh, okay.
Yes, that was one of my favorite moments. Good. What else?
I loved Dandy being Dandy? Did I say
Dandy
that
is so
right?
good. I feel like I built my
I love-
character too strong sometimes.
I love Dandy.
I love Dandy checking the mood, because I would like one of those, and and also, you know, being able to kind of transmit the conversation to you. So I don't know if that's not one thing. Sorry, but I just
No,
love the whole
that's
thing
okay.
so much.
No,
It
that's
was
okay.
so cool.
I keep trying to put 2 I's in Yume's name for some reason.
Another thing that I really loved that Yume did was when the inn hostess was out of the room but still within earshot, Yume was like, "She's so nice." that made me smile so much.
That was a really good moment.
Yeah.
Great. Remember, chat, you can always nominate good moments you liked as well. My players, you got anything else you liked? Where's my cursor?
I think the 2 timid and wary elves having a moment was I don't know what the right word is. Enjoyable isn't the right word, but it was special.
I liked it a lot too. Like that's been at the top of my mind, but I hadn't dropped it because I'm stuck on the whole roleplay point thing. So I'm like, who would get that point? I can't say something for 2 of you.
Oh, don't stress about that.
Oh.
I'll figure it out. I am not opposed to having 2 people get a point. I don't really care. This is more of a mechanic of recognizing really solid role playing. So
For sure.
Celebrating fun moments.
yeah. That absolutely is one of them. That's a really good moment. And it did take 2 of them, so yeah. Okay, any more, or would you like to go ahead and vote?
So how does the voting work?
You are going to react to the message. So I broke each role-playing moment out into a different message. So whichever one you're like, yes, I want to give my 1 vote to this, you'll react to it with any emoji.
Okay.
You're in the right channel, Tyler.
Oh, I have to choose 1.
That's the
It can
hardest
be
part.
super hard sometimes,
Yeah.
especially when things get really hairy and we have a lot of wild roleplay. It's
Yeah.
like, oh no.
Yeah. It's one reason I'm really glad I don't get to vote. It would be impossible, I think. I just love these moments so much. So we've got 2 of 4 votes. I've got 3 votes. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and call it, but Aaliyah, you still vote. I want to see where you're gonna vote.
I think that's gonna be a pattern, you guys.
But Aaliyah's gonna take it for the comment, there are things I need to learn about, but danger is not one of them, which I think is very well deserved. That was, I think, one of my favorite lines that I've heard so far. That was really good. So, Leah, I will remind you at the top of the next session because I go over these, but I am not going to remind you during the session that you have one of these. I very infrequently remember that you have one to be like, you might want it. So you'll need to keep track of this. Next session, you'll have one reroll.
Do they expire?
They do. You only get it for the next session.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
It's kind of like spell slots. Use it or lose it kind of thing.
Though, how often do any of your players remember to use them, and should they expire, considering that?
Very infrequently, but that's one of the reasons I let them expire, because otherwise keeping track of who has one is impossible, and it's very likely that someone will hoard them and have like 7 and use them all in the same session, which just the balance doesn't work really well, and it doesn't that's not the intent, like the purpose of this. The purpose of the role-playing moments are to capture really fun and acknowledge really fun moments of character play, and the voting system is just a fun way of giving back to the person who did have a really fun character moment. Since we're doing a lot of check-ins and stuff today, we've one thing I have said in the past is that the role playing point that you have, the reroll, is yours, right, Aaliyah? That's yours. That's it. But I noticed that some of you have asked, can I give it to somebody? Can I give it to another player? And I have said no in the past. I'd like to revisit that decision. Would y'all like to continue with the idea that your role-playing point, if you win it and it's yours, is yours and you can't give it to somebody else? Or would you like to open up that possibility and say that it's yours to do with what you'd like, and if you'd like to give it to another player, they can use it instead? And that's an in-the-moment thing. Which would you rather? And would you like to think about it and discuss this next time?
I would like to make that change.
Okay, so we've got one vote for making that change. I cannot read the facial expressions I'm seeing.
And or a caveat of if you find as the DM that it is like OP for us to hand it over, say that like, I don't know, Winnie has like the final axe blow of a massive battle, and she rolls a nat 1, and I'm like, I give my role-playing point to Winnie. Like, it's very like player versus DM style. You could also make it like something where we can use our points in an effort of flavor. So like I help her push her axe or something.
Yes. So I don't think it's OP because it's literally up to the, I don't know, the gods who gets the RP point. So in that given moment, there's every chance that Winnie would have the RP point versus you having the RP point, right? There's, it's not OP in that case. And there's still only going to be one role-playing point per game, right? So if you have the role-play point, like you have the role-play point today, if you decided to give it to Aaliyah for, jumping off a roof or whatever, it's used, it's gone. You can't use that again. So there's no OP there. And we can flavor it however you want. Anytime we do a reroll like that, we usually touch on like, okay, do you want to reflect the -1 or whatever. So yeah, I think that would work.
Super into making the change.
Great. So I've got 2. How does Winnie feel about this? Seeing a head nod. Favorable. Okay. Questions or comments? Nope. Head shake. Good. Okay. Aaliyah, how are you feeling about it? You okay with that?
It's very on brand for me to give it away.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Let's stick with that.
Okay. All right. We are officially going to make that change, and that stream is a good example of how you can make changes to. This is a homebrew rule. This is a rule I use in my campaigns. I get consent from my players to use it at the beginning of the campaign, and I heard that they might want to make a change. I acknowledged it. We had a discussion about it. We all discussed it and voted on it, and this is the change that we're going to make. I don't have any serious problems with it at all, and I think it could actually be very fun, and I think it's particularly fitting for this group, right? A group of heroes that are all trying to help everybody, including each other. So yeah, I think it works. With that, let's do a quick round of where we can find everybody for the next week or so. So I'll have my players share if they're going to be on a stream somewhere that you can check out, or if they'd like to share their handles so you can check them out on Twitter. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share about what they're up to for the next week or so?
Going back to work after the holiday break. It's going to be so hard.
That is going to be tough, yes, but I don't think our viewers can watch that or check in on you with that. Anybody else? Any streams coming up? Any fun projects you want to share? Okay. No? Good? Okay. Well, tomorrow I will be doing a Brunches and Dragons with Lionspire, who is the brother of a good friend of mine. So that's going to be pretty fun. And Treasure Tuesday should be back on Tuesday, and then I'm going to stop saying that I'm going to do a Dungeons & Doggos game, and then maybe it'll actually happen. And then I think we'll be back with Broken Bane next week, but I haven't checked in with my players yet, so we'll find out. Always check Twitter for that. All right, as I said before, I am like Seven Spoon. You can find me on Twitter, and I'm happy to answer questions there. I think that's it. I think we're going to say goodnight, stream. I hope you all have a wonderful start to your new year. Everybody say bye, stream. Bye. Bye,
Stream
stream
Stream.
stream.
Bye, stream
Happy New
stream.
Year.